If you struggle with anxiety, has anyone ever told you to just think positive or just think good thoughts whenever you're in the midst of dealing with anxiety or panic? And didn't you just want to just like shake them a little bit or lay hands on them just a bit? Because the thing about this is if thinking good thoughts or just thinking positive actually worked for anxiety, you would be able to deal with it, right? And you wouldn't be, for example, lying awake in the middle of the night with your mind racing through every possible disaster scenario. Hi, I'm Keisha. I'm a certified hypnotherapist, and today I'm going to share why just thinking good thoughts and why just thinking positive can make anxiety worse. And we're also going to talk about 3 steps that actually work to create a calmer, more peaceful, more confident, and in control mind. Picture this. It's 3 a.m., you're lying there, and your mind starts that familiar spiral. You know what I mean. Tomorrow's big day, tomorrow's big presentation, your aging parents, having to take care of them and visit them, something that you have to do for your children, your job, something that actually you're looking forward to, a party, a get together. And whether you're failing in life, right, or if you're doing really good, that endless mental checklist of everything that could go wrong. And then you remember, oh, right, I'm supposed to be thinking positive thoughts. I'm supposed to be thinking good thoughts. Okay, so let's do that. So you do that. And then what happens? You're anxious about being anxious. You're beating yourself up. You're not able to flip some magical switch, right? To rainbow thoughts, to unicorns, to just getting back on track, to feeling in control. And this is exhausting, right? Because you know that you're a capable person. You know that you're a successful, you're an intelligent woman, you're a professional woman, and you know that you have been able to handle complex problems at work, in your family, at home, in life, all the time. But somehow, some way, managing your own mind begins to feel impossible. Here's what no one tells you, and this is so important. All of these things going on is not a sign that something is wrong with you. In fact, it's a sign that things are working actually as they are designed to be, at least according to your ancestral programming, right? It just means that the signal in your mind is getting scrambled basically by old programming that is no longer serving you, that needs to be guided in a different way. Think about it this way, right? Trying to paste positive or good thinking thoughts over anxiety is kind of like putting a Band-Aid on a smoke detector, or it's kind of like plastering up wallpaper when there's holes in the wall underneath, right? The alarm, the issues in the wall, they're trying to tell you something important. But instead of listening to that message, you're just trying to silence it. You're just trying to wall it off and just trying to throw something up on there and then keep it moving. But now, as always, your mind isn't the enemy. Your mind is and has and always will be your greatest asset, your greatest tool, when you know how to work with it instead of against it. So what's a real tool to be able to manage and overcome anxiety, worry, and panic? It's not just thinking good thoughts, but it's really about correct and productive thinking. So this little checklist I came up with, I call it the TRUE method, and it's an acronym. And it's super simple, but it's also powerful. And I want to kind of break this down. And that's, again, the TRUE method, TRU, and I'll outline what each letter means. So step 1 is to track your thoughts. So whenever you feel that anxiety rising up, I want you to pause and ask yourself, okay, well, what thoughts might I actually be thinking or letting run beneath the surface that could be causing this feeling? Because oftentimes changes in our feeling, changes in our body, they can be caused by other things, but they are so often caused by thoughts that are very overt and obvious, and thoughts that also are a little bit covert, subconscious, that kind of run beneath the surface. Thoughts we may not even sometimes be aware that we're having. And you don't want to really judge the thoughts. You just want to identify them, right? So, for example, you might notice that your anxiety begins to rise because you're having this thought that says, "I'm going to mess this thing up. I'm going to mess this thing up, and everyone's going to think that I am trash and that I'm completely incompetent. I'm just going to make a fool of myself." Or you may notice the anxiety taking up, and you notice a thought underneath that says, "Okay, well, these family members that I'm taking care of, my parents, for example, they're going to get sick. I won't be able to handle it. I can't handle it. Everything's just going to fall apart," right? So really get kind of curious and get specific as you can about what your mind is actually telling you, because you can't change, number one, what you're not aware of. But understand that your mind really has two jobs. And the first one of those is to keep you safe. And it does that by constantly thinking of all the threats, all the million threats that are around you, and including threats that aren't really a threat, and bring that up to your attention. So the first thing, letter T, is to ask, what thoughts might be causing this anxiety? Step number 2 is to now ask yourself, are these thoughts real? Or are they based in actual reality? So this is where the letter R comes in, right? So this isn't about really dismissing your concerns. It's about distinguishing between facts and fear-based fiction. So you want to ask, is it a fact that you're going to mess everything up? Or is that perhaps your anxiety or the thoughts in your mind creating this? Has your boss actually said that you're incompetent? Have people actually said that you aren't going to do anything right? Or is that your inner critic talking? And most of our anxiety comes from treating imagined scenarios as though they're real. So again, R is reality. Is it based in reality? Is it something that is a real, legitimate, fact-based situation or threat? So already, once we've arrived if something is not a fact-based threat, then it already is a useless thought. So therefore, a useless thought, which is causing a useless and unwanted reaction in the body, needs to be changed, right? So if you've determined that the thought is not based in reality, then therefore it's time to change the thought. And we're going to talk about that in a second. But what if you say that maybe there is a chance that this could come to play, right? So maybe you are talking about, maybe you are taking care of someone, and maybe there's a fact that things could get serious, that health could go for the worse and could cause challenge for you. So then we move on to step number 3, but technically letter number U, right? So this is the place where you want to begin to ask yourself, well, even if it's based in reality, are these thoughts actually useful? Are they helping me or are they hurting me? And it's at this point that if you decide that even if something is based in reality, right, even if there is a chance of something unfortunate happening to you, is the thought useful to you? That's you. And at this point, you would likely arrive at the conclusion that no, it is not. Okay. For example, when you're lying there again, right, awake at 3 a.m. in the morning, right, running those worst case scenarios, they're not serving you. They're not useful. So when we decide that a thought isn't useful, it's time to find a better, more practical one. So in doing this, you want to aim for neutrality and common sense, not fake positivity and just realistic thinking. Aim for neutrality. And the good thing about this approach is that you're using your natural skills in a way that actually serves you. So instead of just spiraling, circling, you begin to take back some power, and you begin to actually tell and guide your mind, your greatest asset, in a better way. So for example, if something could happen, right, instead of saying, well, I won't be able to handle it and everything's going to spiral out of control, what's a better thought? A better, more neutral thought is actually, I can handle anything. I can't handle anything. I've handled everything in the previous decades of my life that life has thrown at me, and I can handle something else. Whatever comes my way, I can handle things. Keeping it as neutral as possible. And of course, with time, you can begin to work on stronger and even more positive thoughts. You don't need to fix your mind, right? You need to understand it. You need to kind of work with it. And the way that your mind works is so powerful. And that isn't really the problem. The problem is, again, in learning how to control it correctly and to work with it correctly. And this will always be a work in progress. And it's always work that is worth putting in. So if you're a professional woman over 40 who's tired of anxiety running your life and you're ready to transform that mental energy into your greatest advantage, make sure you're following me for more content like this. Please let me know what you're going through. I'd love to know what you'd like me to talk about. So if you have any ideas, anything to share, anything that you would like me to speak on, or any questions, or anything that you're going through, please, by all means, share with me here at the comments. Now, I just always want you to remember, it's not broken. You're not damaged. You're not weak. You just need the right approach to work with your natural abilities, your natural gifts, instead of against them. So definitely drop a comment below. Let me know, have you ever tried the old approaches of just thinking positive and just trying to think good thoughts? And how did that work out for you? All right. So I want you to think about that. Try that out. And definitely, I want to always invite you to reach out to me if you need anything and have any questions. And I want you to remember always, of course, that in order to change your life, you must first change yourself. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.